Long after the veil shattered, the family thought the worst had passed. They had survived the spectral onslaught, the haunting echoes of their past, and the chilling touch of the world beyond. But the night, it seems, is never truly done with secrets. From the very ashes of their fear, a new terror began to take shape. The air, thick with the memory of fire and ruin, began to churn. The smoke, it wasn't fading. It was forming something. Eyes, like burning embers, materialized within the swirling mist. A presence, ancient and malevolent, was watching, waiting. The children, always the first to sense the unseen, felt its gaze upon them. It wasn't a simple look. It was a piercing stare that seemed to look not at them, but through them, into the very core of their souls. The family patriarch, his voice a low growl of ancient knowledge, warned them, "Don't meet its gaze. That's how it feeds." The air grew heavy, pregnant with a name whispered on the wind, a name that belonged to the youngest of the family. The house itself seemed to recoil. The loyal dog barked wildly, its claws scraping desperately against the wooden floorboards, while the cat, usually so composed, hissed, its fur bristling with primal fear. Even the beasts of the house trembled before this new phantom. The smoke slithered like a living shadow, its tendrils stretching along the floor, tasting the air, reaching for the warmth of the living. A frantic scramble began. "Close the windows! Seal the doors!" An urgent attempt to keep the encroaching dread at bay. But it was too late. With a deafening crash of shutters and a violent gust of wind, the entity was inside. The air filled with a chorus of unintelligible whispers, an overlapping chant that seemed to steal the very thoughts from their minds. The child whimpered, "Mother, it's whispering my dreams." A terrifying confession that the creature was not just in their home, but in their minds. But fear soon gave way to a grim recognition. The father, his form shifting into something more primal, more protective, snarled low, "Hide behind me, child. I've faced this watcher before, in another life." The revelation hung in the air, thick as the smoke itself. This wasn't a new monster. It was an old one, a recurring nightmare woven into the fabric of their lineage. As the smoke coiled tighter, wrapping the room in its suffocating embrace, the family realized the truth. The watcher wasn't here to harm them, not in the way a simple ghost would. It was here to remind them. A reminder of a promise made in blood and bound by shadow, an ancient pact they could not escape. A dark amusement flickered in the vampire's eyes. "So, the watcher returns. Perhaps it's time we finish what began centuries ago." The fear that had gripped them began to transform into something else. Resolve. A steely determination settled over the mother. "Then let it watch," she said, her voice soft but unbreakable. "Let it remember who we are." They stood united, enveloped in the smoke's embrace, a family neither living nor dead, but eternal. And in the heart of the swirling darkness, as the embers of its eyes glowed brighter, the watcher smiled. The hunt was not over. In fact, it had just begun again, a cycle of shadow and blood destined to repeat. What ancient promise did the watcher come to collect? And how will the family finally break the cycle? The legend continues. Thank you for joining us for this chapter of the family's saga. If you're captivated by their story and want to uncover the next secret, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens when the shadows return.